Imagine working day and night for years, only to have your own family snatch the credit and hand it to someone else. That was my life, until I finally made a move they never saw coming. Hi lovelies, welcome back to Tales by Laura. Today's story is one of betrayal, favoritism, and a woman who refused to let her sacrifices be stolen any longer. For years, her parents overlooked her hard work, constantly favoring her younger sister. But when the one thing she earned for herself was taken and paraded around as someone else's achievement, she decided to draw the line. Stay tuned, because this isn't just about a car, it's about boundaries, respect, and finally reclaiming the power that was always hers. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. The roast chicken cools untouched on my plate while Mama circles the table, pouring water into tall glasses with the kind of practiced grace she's mastered over decades. Sunday dinner at the Jackson home follows its usual rhythm, crystal catching the glow from the chandelier, fine china gleaming against the polished mahogany table that has carried generations of tense conversations hidden beneath polite smiles. Daddy glances at his watch. Danielle should have been here by now, he mutters. You know your sister, Mama replies, her gaze flicking toward me. She lives by her own clock. I nod, saying nothing. Every Sunday since I landed my promotion, I've come to these dinners, hoping maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see me. Me, not just Danielle's older, less dazzling sister. The front door swings open, and the familiar rhythm of heels against hardwood fills the house. Danielle breezes in, laughing as if the world itself bends to her charm. She tosses her purse carelessly toward the sideboard, barely missing Mama's prized vase. Sorry I'm late, she sings, sliding into her chair as if nothing's amiss. My stomach knots when I notice the cobalt leather tag dangling from her hand. My keyring. My car. Daddy beams at her. So, how was the interview? Danielle smiles. The manager said I had all the right skills. Of course you did, Mama says warmly, loading her plate with generous portions. And we're just grateful you had reliable transportation today. The room tilts around me. I set my fork down with deliberate care, the silver clinking softly against porcelain. Did you take my car without asking? I ask, my voice low but steady. Danielle rolls her eyes, spinning the keys once before dropping them beside her glass. Oh, come on. It's not like you use it every day. That's not an answer. Daddy's smile fades. Family helps family, Monique. Danielle needed to make a good impression. This morning, when I reached for my spare keys, the hook was empty. I'd assumed I misplaced them. Never thought my own sister would just take them. You could have asked, I say firmly. Mama's smile tightens. Darling, it's not like you were using it today. Don't make a fuss. The dismissal burns, but this time, beneath the sting, something else stays. Slow, simmering fury. 3 months ago, I stood in a boardroom in my best gray suit, presenting the project that took 18 months of my life. 8 men in dark suits watched me, skeptical at first, then grudgingly nodding as I proved every number, every projection. When the last signature landed on the contract, worth just under $4 million, I knew what I'd do with my commission. The dealership called the color midnight black, though in certain light it shimmered deep blue. The leather seats smelled of freedom, of finally owning something new. The salesman raised his eyebrows when I signed the down payment without hesitation. No father, no husband nodding approval. Just me. The first big purchase I'd ever made that was fully mine. Now Danielle chews casually, nails glinting under the light, oblivious to what she's stolen. Not just a car, but proof. Proof that I could finally stand outside her shadow. By the way, she says between bites, mind if I borrow it again next weekend? There's this networking event in Atlanta. No, the word cuts the air sharper than I intended. Mama's fork halts midair. Monique, don't be selfish. And there it is again, the script of my life. Danielle takes. I endure. And my parents always crown her the victor. You have your own car, I remind her. That old thing. Please, I'm trying to build my career here. Daddy folds his napkin with irritation. Your sister's just starting out. You should support her. Support. My career began with student loans, night shifts, and sheer grit, without handouts, without borrowed luxuries. But saying it would only make me sound bitter. Then Danielle adds, almost casually, "Oh, and some idiot scratched the passenger door. Nothing big." My phone buzzes. Then again. I pull it out, breaking Mama's no-phone rule. 6 notifications, each from colleagues. Beautiful car. When did your parents buy it for you? I open Instagram. There's Danielle, leaning against my sedan, manicured hands splayed across the hood. The caption, "Thank you Mom and Dad for the amazing gift. So blessed to have such supportive family." Dozens of likes, comments from friends. I lay my phone on the table, screen up. "We need to talk about boundaries," I say, my voice calm even as rage builds inside me. Daddy waves his hand. "It's just a post. Monique, don't be dramatic. She only wants to feel successful like her big sister." Mama dabs her mouth with her napkin. "Is that so awful?" Danielle shrugs. "I'll delete it if you want. But everyone's already seen it." The casualness in her tone makes my chest ache. "Show me the scratch," I demand. "What?" "The scratch on my car. I want to see it." Minutes later, we stand in the driveway. And there it is, a long scar across the passenger side, red paint embedded in the metal. Not from a careless driver. From hitting a fire hydrant. You sideswiped a hydrant. The words taste like rust. "Were you texting?" Danielle looks away. "Does it matter? Insurance will handle it." "My insurance," I snap. Back inside, I scroll through my phone with a tight chest and colder hands. It isn't just one post. It's 5. 2 weeks of carefully staged photos. Danielle at a valet stand. Danielle at a private club. Danielle outside a glossy lounge. My car gleaming behind her like a trophy she earned. A memory surfaces sharp as glass. 17-year-old me, opening a thin envelope from Eastern University. Full academic ride. Mama, busy stringing balloons for Danielle's sweet 16, barely looks up. "That's lovely, baby. Can you help me hang these?" 2 hours later, Daddy pulls into the driveway with a teal hatchback, keys dangling. "Happy birthday, princess." Danielle squeals while I tape streamers for a party I'm not invited to attend. Not really. College years come back in fragments, the campus bookstore mornings, restaurant nights, papers written on lunch breaks. My parents' contribution. $500 a term for books. When they remembered. Meanwhile, Danielle cycled through 3 universities like outfits, fully funded, before deciding school wasn't aligned with her spirit. Mama patted her hand. "Not everyone is academic." My sweaters went missing. Jewelry borrowed and never returned. The spare key to my first apartment vanished right after Danielle came by to see how you're settling in. A pattern led over a lifetime, suddenly visible like pen pressed too hard on paper. I set my phone face up on the table and stand. "This car," I say softly, though the room vibrates with my pulse, "is the first thing of real value I ever bought for myself. Paid with money I earned. Hours I worked. Sacrifices I chose." Mama's eyes glisten. Daddy's jaw turns granite. "I paid for my degree. I paid for my rent. I've paid for everything I own." The words land one by one, steady, undeniable. After I closed the Bramble account, I chose that car because for once, I wanted something brand new that didn't carry anyone else's story but mine. Danielle studies her cuticles, but I catch the quick flicker, resentment, or fear, or both. "And you took it. You took it and then announced to the world that our parents bought it for you." Mama's tears spill, morphing fast into scolding. "After all we've done for you, this is how you speak to your family? With accusation and ingratitude." My phone buzzes again. Jasmine from finance. Stunning car and Danielle's post. "Your parents are amazing." Jasmine, who saw me grind for 18 months to land Bramble, who slipped me coffee during final edits, who opened cheap champagne with me the night we won. At work, effort means something. At home, effort becomes community property. I pick up my purse and slide the strap onto my shoulder. "Don't walk away from this table," Daddy says in the voice that used to stop me cold. "We are not finished." Actually, we are. I move toward the door. Danielle leans back, all bravado. "What are you going to do? Call the cops on your own sister?" I pause at the threshold and turn, taking in the three faces I have tried all my life to please. Three people who expect me to bend. No, I say, fingers tight around my keys. I'm going to do something much more effective. The door closes behind me with a soft click, like a period at the end of a very long sentence. That night, I paced the length of my downtown apartment, 8 steps from one wall to the other. The glass windows reflect my restless movement, and through them, 12 stories below, my sedan sits in the lot. Even from this height I can see the ugly scrape slashing across the passenger door, a scar against perfection. I pause mid-stride, fists curling tight. The memory of Danielle tossing my keys across the table plays again in my mind, casual and careless. Mama's dismissive tone, Daddy's insistence on family sacrifice. It all loops in my head like a song I never chose to play. But my desk tells another story. Papers lined neatly, awards placed with precision, plaques for Sales Director of the Year, framed photos of me shaking hands with the CEO, a crystal paperweight for 5 years of loyalty. These are the proof of persistence, late nights, strategies that paid off. Unlike my sister, who never had to grind, never had to claw her way forward. I press my hand against the glass, staring at the car. A realization blooms slowly, then strikes with sudden clarity. I've been approaching this wrong. My family doesn't need convincing. They need removing, from access, from opportunity. By Monday morning, I know exactly what to do. The office hums with start-of-week energy. Normally, I thrive on it. Today, every good morning feels like an intrusion as I stride toward my corner office, briefcase in one hand, coffee in the other. Inside other documents I revise past midnight. Monique, Jasmine calls from the break room. Your sister's car is gorgeous. My husband's been eyeing the same model. My smile is automatic, brittle. Thanks. 2 steps later, Ryan from accounting saw Danielle's post. Nice ride. Your parents must be so proud. She hasn't started the job yet. I mutter. Too sharp, too fast. By the time I reach my office, I've fielded half a dozen comments, each one tossing salt on an open wound. I slam the door harder than intended, blinds rattling. Carl, my assistant, knocks gently. You've got the budget meeting with Mr. Hill at 10. He studies me. Everything okay? I force my shoulders straight. Schedule 30 extra minutes. Tell him I have a proposal he'll want to hear. Carl raises an eyebrow. Anything else? Yes. Clear my afternoon. And find out who manages the company's vehicle fleet. At 10 sharp, I sit across from Marcus Hill, CFO of Strive Dynamics. I've spent 3 years building his trust. Consistent numbers, 0 mistakes. Today I'm cashing in that credibility. Before he can even open the quarterly files, I slide a folder across the desk. I'd like to discuss a solution to our client transportation costs. His brows lift, but he flips it open. Inside, hard numbers, charts, tax benefits, branding opportunities. You're suggesting a dedicated executive vehicle, he asks, eyes narrowing with interest. For client meetings. 4 events. Right now, we spend over $1,000 a month on mileage reimbursement for sales directors alone. A company-owned vehicle saves nearly a third of that and doubles as a branding tool. He reaches the final page, where a photograph of my sedan sits mocked up with Strive Dynamics logo discreetly placed on the doors. And you already know of a vehicle that fits our specs, Hill says, a half-smile tugging his mouth. I do. I meet his gaze without blinking. Mine. Hill leans back, tapping the folder. I wondered when you'd make this kind of move, Monique. Smart. Very smart. 2 hours later, I walk out of legal with preliminary paperwork in hand. By week's end, my car will be company property, fair price, tax benefits, and most importantly, locked forever beyond my family's reach. Looks like you handled it, says Derek, my supervisor, catching me in the hallway. Mr. Hill already approved. I ask. Derek nods. It saves us money, and it gives you distance from, well, the family situation. I stop mid-step. You know about that? He shrugs lightly. So the posts. Not my business. But if this helps, you've got my support. By Wednesday, the company mechanic has buffed the scratch clean, the expense logged under maintenance. Carl reschedules client meetings, and the legal department finalizes the transfer. In the garage, Walter from legal hands me the final papers. Insurance is switched. Plates arrive next week. Reserved parking is already labeled. Sure enough, a new sign gleams by the elevator, reserved for client relations. My sedan sits beneath it, gleaming fresh, a magnetic company logo now affixed to its doors. You're sure about this? Walter asks. Once it's company property, you can't just take it back. I'm sure. The pen feels heavy as I sign with a decisive flourish. That night, my best friend Keisha arrives at my apartment with pasta and wine. She listens, then raises her glass. To corporate assets. She toasts, laughing. The boldest boundary I've ever seen. I clink glasses. To problems solved. What will you tell your family? She asks. The truth, I reply, twirling spaghetti on my fork. And when they realize what you've done. A coolness settles in my chest, solid and unshakable. Then they'll finally learn, my kindness is not weakness. By Sunday evening, the air outside glows gold with the setting sun as I pull into my parents' driveway, not in the sedan they expect, but in my old crossover SUV. The worn leather seat hugs me like an old friend. I cut the engine and sit still for a moment, savoring the quiet satisfaction in my chest. The moment I step inside, 3 pairs of eyes whip toward me. Danielle's expression shifts fast, from smug anticipation to confusion. Where's the black car? She blurts, voice sharper than usual. Mama's hand flies to her pearl necklace, fingers tugging nervously. Daddy's jaw tightens in that subtle way that signals a lecture brewing. I drove my old car today, I say lightly, slipping my jacket off and hanging it in the closet. The smell of pot roast fills the house. Same menu we've had on Sundays for as long as I can remember. I take my seat at the table. For the first time in years, I feel perfectly at ease here. Dinner begins in silence until Mama finally folds her napkin into her lap. Sweetheart, she starts carefully, we've been thinking about Danielle's situation. Daddy clears his throat, lowering his voice into what I call his boardroom tone. Your sister needs dependable transportation if she's going to find steady work. With the economy the way it is, every impression counts. Danielle leans in, eyes wide with practiced sincerity. If you just add me to your insurance, I promise I'll be careful this time. I chew my carrots slowly, letting their voices overlap, rehearsed as always, Mama's concern, Daddy's verdict, Danielle's vulnerability. Same dance, different song. By the time dessert arrives, apple pie with vanilla ice cream, they are still waiting for me to bend. The silence stretches, heavy as stone. Finally, I set my fork down and smile. That won't be possible. Mama blinks. What do you mean? I dab my mouth with a napkin. I don't own that car anymore. The room falls silent, every sound sucked out like air from a vacuum. You sold it already? Daddy asks, voice rising with triumph, as if this confirms some weakness is always suspected. No, I say calmly. I transferred it to my company. It's a corporate asset now. Their faces freeze. Mima gasps. Danielle's chair scrapes against the floor as she snatches up the folder I place on the table, the signed paperwork stamped with official seals. This isn't fair, she sputters, scanning the documents. Yes, I say, my voice steady. It is. For once, it is. Mama clutches the tablecloth. They can just take your car. They didn't take it. I explain evenly. I offer the arrangement. The company covers insurance, maintenance, even the repairs for that scratch. In return, it's for business use only. Legally, I can't lend it to anyone. Not even you, Danielle. Daddy's face reddens. You've always been difficult, but this is outrageous. Beyond what? I ask quietly. Beyond protecting the one thing I earned entirely on my own. Beyond insisting that my hard work is respected. The silence that follows is unlike any I've ever experienced at this table. For once, I don't feel guilt. I feel free. Daddy finally speaks, voice hard. If this is how you treat family, maybe you should reconsider your place in this family's future. I tilt my head, genuinely curious. You're threatening to cut me out of the will. Mama jumps in, her tone turning syrupy, manipulative. Your behavior shows an unhealthy attachment to material things. Maybe you should talk to someone. Danielle's eyes glisten with tears. Whether real or strategic, I can't tell. You betrayed us. After everything we've done for you. I shake my head. Calm now, the storm inside me replaced with clarity. I've already received my inheritance. You taught me to fight for myself. To endure when no one else believed in me. That lesson is worth more than any estate. For the first time in my adult life, Daddy looks uncertain. Mama dabs at her eyes, but her tears don't move me like they once did. Danielle sputters with anger, but her words tumble without weight. I gather my purse and keys. I love you, I say softly. But love has boundaries. Real love respects. And with that, I stand, leaving the shocked silence behind me as I step out into the night air. The engine of my old SUV hums steady as I pull away from their house. In the rearview mirror, I catch a glimpse of 3 faces pressed to the front window, frozen in disbelief. For the first time in 33 years, I feel the weight of their expectations fall away. For the first time, I am writing my own script. 6 months later, morning sunlight glints off the silver frame of my new nameplate, Executive Vice President, as I arrange photos on my office desk. One picture shows me standing beside the company sedan, now detailed with our logo, surrounded by smiling clients after a major deal. The scratch is long gone, polished away like the habits I've shed. My assistant pokes her head into the office. Quarterly reports are ready. Still admiring your handiwork. I smile, just thinking about the distance traveled. Later that week, I meet Keisha for coffee. Steam curls from our mugs as she stays hers carefully. So, she teases, your mom texted again. Just checking in. No guilt this time, I reply. Daddy even signed the Christmas card himself. Small miracles, Keisha says, squeezing my hand. She tells me Danielle finally managed to hold a job longer than 90 days. The words no longer sting. I simply shrug. Good for her. That evening, my apartment fills with laughter as colleagues crowd around my table. Glasses clink, plates scrape, voices mingle with ease. No undercurrents. No walking on eggshells. Just joy. To the new product line. Jasmine toasts. And to Monique, who somehow convinced Mr. Hill to fund innovation. I laugh with them, warmth settling in my chest. When someone asks about my family, I answer honestly. We're learning new ways to connect. On my terms this time. The following Tuesday, Sarah, one of our junior associates, lingers at my doorway, looking deflated. They say I don't have enough experience for the Portland presentation, she whispers. But I built that entire proposal. I invite her in, shut the door. Listen, your achievements belong to you. Don't let anyone take them away. Ever. She nods slowly, hope flickering back in her eyes. After she leaves, I draft a memo for a new company-wide recognition program. If I can spare others from the erasure I endured, it will be worth it. That evening, as the sunset bleeds orange across the city skyline, I drive the company car toward a client meeting. The leather seats cradle me, the wheel feels steady under my hands. In the reflection of the glass, I glimpse the woman I used to be, hunched shoulders, careful words, always yielding. And I glimpse who I am now, rooted, unbending, free. At a red light, I watch strangers cross, a young woman laughing into her phone, an older man clutching a briefcase, 2 teens sharing earbuds. Lives moving, unaware of mine. The light turns green. I press the accelerator, heart steady. Because success, I've learned, isn't measured by what you own. It's measured by what you refuse to let others take. And some boundaries, once drawn, are worth every sacrifice. If you've ever had someone take credit for your hard work, you know how painful it feels. But stories like this remind us that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. So before you go, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs a little reminder of their own strength. And don't forget to drop a comment below. Have you ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours? Family, success, love, none of it means anything without respect. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no and mean it. Thank you so much for watching, lovelies. Until next time, this is Tales by Laura, reminding you, protect your peace, honor your work, and never let anyone dim your light.